This conference will now be recorded.
Hello and welcome. Thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Adam Lang of A-Lang Consulting. Also with us is Steve Thatcher. He'll be leading today's webinar and I'll introduce him shortly. We're thrilled to have you all here for today's discussion on reaching a higher Tableau. This is all about leveraging the power of Tableau dashboards in higher education. First, just a little bit about us. As I said, my name is Adam Lang of A-Lang Consulting. And what we do is offer training services, custom development, and consulting for colleges and universities in the areas of reporting, analytics, data warehousing, and dashboards. We have 20 years of combined experience in the areas of reporting, analytics, and dashboards. And most of that work has been focused in higher education. I'm proud to say that we are the experts in helping institutions prepare and present their information to translate raw data into insights and action. It's work we love, it's work that we're very passionate about, and it's an area that we're always keen to innovate, and it's an area in which we're always interested in finding new ways for institutions to reach their reporting, analytics, and research goals. And that's what brings us to Tableau. What we see is what you all see each day, which is that you're facing a growing demand for data and insight. Each year, that demand grows. More and more people, sometimes internal, sometimes external, are asking for more and more data. And by leveraging the latest technology like Tableau, you're able to meet those demands by offering sophisticated, intuitive, and attractive dashboards and visualizations. So today, Steve Thatcher will be leading us through a discussion of Tableau, how it works, and he'll be offering some really exciting examples of how dashboards can move the needle at colleges and universities. Steve is an expert consultant and trainer with many years of experience in delivering training and custom reporting solutions. So without further ado, Steve, thank you so much for sharing this information. I'll go ahead and turn it over to you.
Great. Thanks, Adam. Hello, everyone. I'd like to split our time today addressing two main concepts. First, let's discuss what Tableau is and why it is quickly becoming the dashboard tool of choice for many users. Now, this is by no means going to be a deep dive into the technical aspects of the tool, but I think it's important to look at a high-level overview of the workflow of the tool. That will lead us to our second part, where we will explore using Tableau to visualize data commonly found within higher education institutions specifically. And to do that, we've created several dashboards that focus on many of those common questions and processes encountered at every higher education institution. So dashboards around the topics of strategic enrollment and management, schedule analysis, what to offer and when, program review, sitting down with the dean and faculty to really inspect each course, to see and analyze how well did it perform, maybe filter it by department or other attributes within your data. We can also look at KPIs that might be relevant to board members and presidents, like on a scorecard, and really just dashboards that support overall research and planning within your institution. So really, there are dashboards that can be created to assist every level of your institution. So we'll get started with part one. Why use Tableau? Now, Tableau is a very powerful yet easy to use tool to visualize your data. And it's powerful in that it allows the users to do three critical things with their data. The first is to connect to their many data sources. The second is to transform and visualize their data. And then finally, the third critical aspect is to be able to share actionable insights internally within the colleges and externally with the public as well. So we have information to address the many stakeholders that we are in contact with. So let's take a look at connecting the data. Now, Tableau offers many ways to connect to our data. So we can connect to multiple data sources, and these data sources can be different formats such as SQL or Oracle databases. They can be Excel files, they can be text files, and in many cases, it can be all of the above. Now, these data sources, when brought into the dashboard, can be standalone, or they can actually be brought in and blended together. So more than one data source, bring them in and combine them together into one cache to report on. So I'm going to take a look at connecting to an internal database that we have that stores college-specific or higher education-specific information. And it's called our West Coast College database. And in here we have awards information, so your degrees and credentials. We have enrollment information, information regarding our instructors, our students, rooms, sections, etc. Right? So some basic information that we see really at any college or any institution. So if I drag my enrollments table into the panel, I can see the raw data for that enrollment. And at this point for the demo, that's all I'm really going to do here. There's a lot more I can do on this panel to really transform transform this data. I can filter it for terms, I can format the columns, I can do a lot of different things. It's a very powerful querying engine. And so what I'll do is just allude to the fact that we can do a lot more here than we're going to do during the demonstration, and we'll talk about some more of those topics later on. Now, we do cover it in our training sources, and we do cover it in our training material, and we'll talk about that material later on today. So let's work with our enrollments data. Now that we have our query, we're going to move to the dashboard, or actually to the worksheet. We're going to build our visualizations one by one, and we're going to build them on worksheets, which are really the building blocks of the dashboard. We'll build our individual vises, and then we'll combine those onto a dashboard. So we'll move to a worksheet. And we can see that Tableau has already done two things for us. It's intelligently analyzed our data set, in this case, the enrollments table. Being a table, it sees that there are a total number of records. And so it has provided us an object here, or that calculation of number of records automatically. So I can take that number of records, I can drag it onto the canvas and see that we have just under 7,600 total enrollments. The second thing that the tool has done for us is it's given us this panel, or the section of dimensions. And this panel contains columns or attributes about our data that we might want to break our calculations down by. For example, we might want to take our enrollments and break them down by subject. And we might also want to see this by term. So just like that, we start visualizing our data in a cross-table format. Now, if there were additional calculations or additional items that you would need inside your dashboard, let's say maybe that are not in our data source, our databases, Excel file, etc., Tableau does contain a very powerful calculation engine that includes some of the basic calculations, such as your counts and your sums, that will allow you to create additional calculations and even dimensions that you need within your dashboard. So it's not in your data source, but you do need to include it in your dashboard. So for example, you might want to calculate the unduplicated head count. You might want to calculate course success rate or course withdrawal rate. Additional statistics and calculations, again, not in your data source. You can do that here leveraging the calculation engine. But we're in Tableau, and Tableau was built primarily for visualizations. And so beyond tables, right, we want to be able to visualize our data, and so that we can easily and more quickly identify patterns and trends in our data and get us to our actionable data items. And to do that, Tableau also includes a very powerful charting engine. So out of the box, we see, looking at these thumbnail previews, we see that it contains a lot of different charts ready to go, drag and drop, and use. So we have our tables, we have our heat maps and trend charts, we have geo charts, we have the standard bar, line, and pie charts, as well as area and distribution, and so on. So a lot of different charts that we can use. And as with the query panel, there's a lot of functionality on this pane as well that we cover in our training courses that we'll talk about later, and that are really beyond this particular webinar. But one thing I do want to point out is the marks card. So we currently have our number of records here. If we simply drag this to our rows, we've now transformed our table with one drag of the mouse, right? We've now transformed our table into a bar chart. And we can continue working with, let's say, the filters pane, and we can filter this by department. So let's choose business. And maybe we want to see this, given that it's a trend, we'd rather see this as a line. So with just a few drag and drops and clicks, we're able to really transform our data on the fly. So we've created our first visualization, or viz for short. We've done that on a worksheet, which is the building block of building a dashboard. Now we can have multiple visualizations and multiple data sources even. So let's return back to the data source tab. And from our West Coast College database, we're going to create an awards data source, right? So if we just drag the awards table onto there, we can now view our awards data, again, further transform the data here, filter it, etc. But we want to now look at some graduation-based data. We want to see maybe our degrees and certificates, that kind of information. So once we have our data source, we know now we just open up yet another worksheet, another building block. Okay, and on this worksheet, let's look at our number of students. Let's look at it by department. And let's go ahead and break our credentials out, maybe in a color or a stacked bar chart. And we want to have some descriptive information. So let's just go ahead and also put it on the text, put number of students there. And if we want to see it on this particular worksheet, we'll just go ahead and turn it into or go ahead and make it fit the entire view. So now we have a second visualization from a whole different data source, right? All within the same workbook. And now we're going to go ahead and add these to create the final dashboard. Okay, so we now click on the dashboard tab. We see that we have sheet 3 and sheet 4. We simply drag those out and we have a dashboard. And of course, right, even on this panel, a lot more that you can do here, a lot of functions and functionality and features to building a dashboard, the way you can automate and customize through logos and branding and school colors and all of that is possible. We can just simply change this to be enrollments. And we see that it's already a formula that's reading the sheet name. That's an automation, right? And we'll call this awards. Okay, so now that you have a dashboard, right, we've done two of the critical things we can do with our data, which is to connect to our data and then to transform and visualize our data. And that's where we have right now. But now we want to be able to share our data. We're in a local client tool. It's a file that's saved to your local drive, right? But you wouldn't share this workbook per se. You'd want to publish it. And for that workflow, Tableau has a few different options on how to publish and share our data. So if we take this workbook and we publish it, we can now share that data internally and externally, depending on which environment we publish to. So Tableau has basically 3 different repositories that we can use to share our data. And the first one is called Tableau Public. And it is, one of the pros is that it's free, right? And some of the cons are that it's restrictive in how you can connect to your data. There's no security around the data and no automation. And the reason why, being public, it's hosted by Tableau, and again, has no connection back to your institution, your data. You actually have to package. You connect initially to your live data in the designer, but then you have to package that data and all the data set and caches, package it into a file, and then upload that onto the public site. But again, it's free, and it's actually a way that some clients have gotten started. So I'm new to Tableau, I could design now. Well, now what do? I'll publish. Where do I publish to? Let's start in public. But again, it has to be non-identifiable information because there's no security around it. And you can't schedule the dashboards or the data sources to be updated on a regular basis, and you can't even leave a live connection to your data, so you always have to manually upload refreshes. But it's there to get you at least started with publishing your dashboards. And that's one end of the spectrum. The other end of the spectrum would be a fully on-premise server installation of Tableau. They call that Tableau server. Right? So within your institution, you purchase the hardware and the software, and you set that server up, and you would be provided with the Pro here, which is the greatest flexibility, because you have both public and private repositories. Public to obviously share out with the public, post out on extranet sites or your own websites. You can also publish to internal spaces that have the security. So if you have sensitive data, you can lock that down on the server. And all the flexibility that goes with that. So there's a security model, there's live connection to data, you can schedule your data, you can schedule your data refreshes, full flexibility with the tool. Now the con of that is that all of that flexibility and that great functionality comes at a price. It's obviously the most expensive option for publishing. So that leads us to Tableau Online. Now Tableau Online really is the best of both worlds. It's a hybrid solution between, let's say, the public and the server, hosted by Tableau, right? So nothing to purchase and manage or maintain on site. However, by Tableau, it also allows for live connections. It's not as restrictive as public. You can connect to your data live. You can provide security as a security model. You can have your public and your internal. You can have automation of your data source updates, etc. Right? So it's a hybrid between the two. And because it's between the two, it's better pricing than, let's say, a Tableau server, but obviously not free like public. So there are a lot of, even just coming down to publishing, Tableau provides you a lot of dynamic ways to kind of fit your budget and your situation. You might be one department in an institution doing one or two dashboards, figured out a way to keep it non-identifiable, you'll start with public. Right? When you want people to log in and see sensitive data, maybe you move to Tableau Online. And of course, if you want to do a full institution implementation across all departments on your campus, in your college, you might look into something like Tableau Server. Okay, so that covers publishing. So those are the three things that the tool allows you to do with your data, three critical things: connect, transform, and visualize, and then share your findings with colleagues and the public. Okay, that brings us to part 2. And here we want to explore seeing Tableau and using Tableau in higher education. Now again, to facilitate this, we've designed several dashboards. And the idea with these dashboards, we have three main things that we keep in mind when we develop them. So I'm going to come out here and queue these up. Okay, so when we design the dashboard we're about ready to show you, this is the college profile and specifically a student profile dashboard. We wanted to keep three things in mind. Let's make our dashboards, 1, aesthetically pleasing or pretty. Right? 2, we want the data to be easy to digest, so intuitive, kind of easy to follow and work your way around the dashboard. And then 3, we want the dashboard to provide or have the ability to provide actionable data. Those are our goals when we go into design these dashboards, right? And they have to be relevant to the topics, etc. Right? So here we have a student profile or a college profile. This may assist with your annual program review, and it acts as a sort of mini fact book of sorts, right? So we have some high-level detail. For example, here in the upper left-hand corner, we have West Coast College. We have our head count, and we have simply a summary by term. So we can see we have 842 students in fall of 2015. And you see as we hover over, you get an additional visualization. They call this a viz and tooltip. And really it provides additional information just simply by hovering. So same spot, same real estate in the dashboard, now providing you 2 different visualizations and some additional text information. Fully customizable, to display text and automated data and filters together. So here we have 842 students, and we can see the breakout by, in this case, department, and how those head counts display across departments, right? Our business, our science, our English, etc. In addition to having a vision tooltip, this particular chart was set up to act as a filter for the rest of the dashboard. So not only are we consuming data, but we can actually pass values interactively to the rest of the dashboard. So our headcount chart now is filtering our demographics chart, course outcomes, and student location for fall of 2015. Moving over to that demographics map, we see a breakout of our student headcount in percentages by 3 particular dimensions. The first is race, ethnicity, the second is gender, and then residency. And we're using a filter and a parameter filter to be able to pass those dimensions into the filter. So we're passing race, ethnicity, we see a breakout accordingly. We switch that to gender. As you can imagine, right, we're now seeing the same headcount information, but by gender. And then finally by residency. Very interactive, but intuitive in that we're all pretty familiar with utilizing drop-down filters. We move down here to the bottom left, we'll see that we have our course outcomes. So now we're looking by department and seeing our course outcomes. We have a withdrawal rate, we can have success rate, and really any other calculations we want to bring into our dashboard, we can pass through this parameter filter. And our data updates accordingly. And then finally, for this dashboard, bottom right-hand corner, we see student location by zip code. We might utilize something like this where we're doing our service area analysis. So how well are we providing for our service area? We see here we have the head count by zip code, and then we have some color on that or density colors on that to see which zip codes we're getting most of our students from and which ones are we getting the least amount of students from. So our 94019 is sending us most of our students. And then somewhere out here, we see fewer and fewer students in these lighter shaded areas. So now do we do outreach to particular zip codes, particularly around high density zip codes? Should we be filling in some gaps here? Again, what is our service area and how well are we providing and servicing that service area? So we can get some geolocation, some map data in there as well. Again, a nod to aesthetics, functionality, ease of use, right? Easy to digest, and trying to glean some actionable data. Why is music down in a particular term? What's the withdrawal rate? Was that high for a reason? Et cetera, et cetera. We can now answer questions and leave the dashboard maybe with more information and insights to go ask additional questions around throughout the institution. Okay, so this is our college profile, something to assist with the program review. Let's move now to our course scheduling dashboard. Okay. Now I'm going to go ahead and refresh this. We are looking here at course information. Now this is unique, right? So this dashboard provides the highest level down to the lower level granularity to help answer questions. It really kind of runs the gamut of from high level all the way down to detailed information. We start at the top, we work our way down to the detail. So we start really by course, right? So let's select a course. Okay, I wanted to refresh. It's the only reason why I haven't used it in a little bit. Let's go down and select that again. Okay, we want our Science 102. So we have our course title, and right away at the top, we get some additional information, 4 pieces. We can tell what department the course is assigned to. We can see the units that are assigned to this course or the units earned for this course. Historically, we can see the average class size and the average fill rate. Right? So working our way down, we see that we have a selector for enrollments, and we see enrollments information. We see that we can select the fill rate, and again, pass that information to all the charts and the vises, and we can pick units as well. And we see that everything is changing. Okay, so I'll move back to enrollments. Now working down the dashboard, we have two visits side by side, enrollments trend, enrollments by instructor. Okay. And so using a heat map here, we can see our enrollments by fall, broken out by fall and spring, and then by year. And so we can quickly see, for example, that we have higher enrollment in fall than we do in spring, at least historically. And we might have figured, okay, that makes sense. We would expect that, but this confirms that that's what's happening. It also tells us, in addition to there being 36 enrollments in fall of 2015-16, that happened to be the highest level of enrollments out of at least these 4 years. So we're starting to glean some information and confirming trends, and possibly again getting additional information to go with to go explore when we're done with the dashboard. We can see enrollments by instructor. We can see that Instructor Sanchez had 36, Instructor Ramirez had 10, right, historically enrollments for this particular course. And we might start to ask, why is that? Is this has to do with the availability of the instructor? Does this have to be the availability of when each of their courses were offered? What's impacting and driving why one has more enrollments than the other? And if we feel that it might have something to do with when the courses are offered, we can move to our bottom table here and see a list by term and instructor, the courses and when they were offered, or this course and when it was offered. So it was offered on these days and times. We have a room and a capacity, right? And then we have, in addition to the raw enrollments data, right, 30, 36, 13, et cetera, we also have some conditional formatting to allow us to determine whether or not we were over or under capacity for that particular course. So a lot of rich information at the course level or at the offering level here at the bottom to help us maybe understand some of the stuff we're seeing in the mid to upper parts of this dashboard. So we see that we have our 30 enrollments here. We have 10 in spring of 2017. So even between spring and fall, we can start to ask ourselves what's going on, what's driving that, what's happening. Let's get to our actionable data. Okay, that's our schedule analysis. Let's move on. Let's look at a departmental scorecard. Now, something like this here, right, a scorecard, might be geared towards, let's say, board members, a program review group, maybe some presidents, VPs, deans. In many cases, it might even be the dream of these types of people, types of individuals. And what we're looking at, initially looks like a lot of data on one chart. But what I learned when I first looked at it and just quickly saw that, well, it's kind of siloed out. It's a lot of data, but it's actually a good thing. We have 4 pieces of information. We're looking at our head count, our units, our pass rate, and our graduates. Right? And we're looking at that information by different departments. Right? So even just seeing the data for your own department and having one department on here would be valuable in itself. But having it broken out this way, we're able to see not only our departmental information or information for our department, we can also compare across other departments to see how we're doing, again, relative to other departments. Right? And so that could be very valuable information, particularly at the higher level program review and the board member and president level, right? To see overall how is the college doing on these 4 different points. So again, head count, units, pass rate, and graduates. And then of course we can add numerous filters, whatever's in your data. We can add, in this case, gender. We can see it by race, maybe by residency, in district and out of district, et cetera. So a lot of great information and also compare points as well. And then we can always hover over and provide additional rich information as well, additional insights. Okay, so we might see again, what is going on with this steep drop in engineering. what's happening with the business, maybe losing graduates over time, et cetera, et cetera. And we can now take that information and go explore it within our institution. Okay, that's our scorecard. Now I wanted to bring this head count by zip code just to show you basically our same geo chart that we had before. Right, let's go ahead and reboot this one here. It's our same geo chart that we had in our first dashboard, but we've obviously blown that up, created the size, and we've layered it over an OpenStreetMap, right? A geographical layer, right, over landmass and landmarks, right? And we see our freeways and et cetera. And it really takes that same chart, but puts it into further focus, right? We can better orient ourselves as to really where our service area is in relation to the outer. So I thought it was pretty neat to be able to do something like this. We still have the same information, head count by zip code. We still have the same density coloring, where 940019 has the most head count, and maybe out here, right, 94063 or so, we have fewer and fewer. And so we can, again, orient ourselves on this map as to what our service area is and what it isn't, or where we currently don't have any students. But we can also now overlay some landmarks. So let's say, for example, we wanted to know where our regional high schools were, where they were location within our service area. So we can toggle over that and layer that on top of our existing map. So we can see, well, we have our North High School, and we're getting a decent amount of students, at least from the 94019 up here in this area. We get fewer students coming out of our South, and we have no students coming from the zip codes that include our coastal high schools. So now that may lead us to say, do we need to do more outreach to the coastal high school area to include them and service them as well, and analyze whether we want to do that. Do we have the resources? Is that where we want to go? Right? We maybe can increase it here at the South High School area and then continue any sort of outreach and development with our North High School. Just like high school, we can also look at our own campuses. So where are our resources? So we see that we have a main campus, and we also have an extension campus way up north. Our main campus looks like it's servicing our current area, our service area. But we see we have fewer students up here nearest, closest to our extension campus, and really nothing to the north of that, right outside. So again, we want to go ahead and use some of the extension campus resources to grab some of the population up here north and bring students in from those zip codes as well. So a lot of rich information, a lot of orientation or information to help us orient and really better understand our service area and where we're operating. Now, all of that information, like any of our other dashboards, can be further filtered, let's say by department, right, and even by term. So we can get a trend over time. And we can have low income and maybe gender, right? And we can see how our dashboard and how our information is changing. So again, something that's a nod to aesthetically pleasing, really it's in the eye of the beholder, I get that, but something that's aesthetically pleasing, that's easy to digest and work through, and provides actionable data. Okay, that's our zip code. Now, this last dashboard, right, has not necessarily the same information, the enrollments and awards that we've been looking at, but it was a separate dashboard that was created, that we created, California Community Colleges, and it has a mix of logos, charts, text, and our infographics here at the bottom. Right? So we can interact with our data, but we can show that we have logos and pictures. We can match particular color schemes. We can really customize the look and feel of our visualizations and our dashboards, and create a lot of rich information all on one canvas. Right? So let me bring this out here. Again, we have our bar chart, information, our hover over. We now have a text box where we can add some descriptions or storytelling narrative to the data that we're seeing. We can have filters and change the data that way, and have these nice infographics to kind of give more like a modern look or some more pop to our particular display. And you may have some cases and some use cases within your institution where that's called for. I want something that has more pop, use some infographics, something way more visual, pictures-wise, with some data and some narrative on there. So all of that is possible as demonstrated by this dashboard. Okay. Now, all of the dashboards that I've shown you here, okay, while these dashboards are were created for demonstration and training purposes, we've also worked closely with higher education clients to develop similar live production dashboards. Right? So we're already developing these types of dashboards for institutions, and we really perform all stages of development, from data transformation and architecture to data staging to front-end dashboard development and training. And all of these services that we provide are driven by our extensive history and expertise in higher education and dashboard development. Right? So that really, again, it's our passion, it's what we love to do, and we have such expertise in it, and it really helps us to develop rich and powerful visualizations for our clients. And in terms of training, we offer clients, I mentioned earlier, there's a lot going on in these dashboards. We don't cover it in webinars, never enough time in a 1-hour webinar, but we do offer training courses that go into all the detail of the tool, right? And we offer a catalog of Tableau training topics to assist with mastery of Tableau. So let me show you a quick slide here. So looking through the catalog, I just have a couple slides here with some bullet points of the different modules that we provide. Right? We've taken all of our training topics, all of the information that we have to help you master the tool, and we created modules and put that information in the module format. Right? So for example, we have an introduction to Tableau where you can learn the overall Tableau workflow. We have a couple modules on calculations because there's a lot to go over there. So leveraging that powerful calculation engine, we will cover advanced calculations and then another very advanced topic, separate topic of level of detail. So we have a few modules on calculations. We have a module for dashboard interactivity. So if you want to make your dashboards come to life, and that pop and interactivity, we help you master those steps, as well as Tableau Prep. That's a separate client tool that is used to really take your data transformation to another level. Do a lot of curation, data curation outside of Tableau, create it as a data source, publish it, and then connect dashboards to that. Right? So we have a module covering prep, as well as dashboard planning and layout. So you can master the overall development workflow and really create visualizations to engage your audiences. We help you visualize your data. So it covers the charting engine that I spoke of and the different charts, and talks about picking the right visualization for your particular scenario. We also mention or reference and help you work through the whole designing dashboard for the mobile platform. So very important topic. We often develop on the desktop, but we have to have the mobile platform in mind when we do. And Tableau does have functionality to assist you with that, and so we have a module that helps you walk you through that. We also cover mapping your data with geocharts. We've seen some example of that today. So we have a module to help you design charts such as those, right? So master the geographics to visualize your geospatial data in Tableau. And today, with our awards and our enrollments and some of the dashboard, we've used our internal West Coast College database, and we have the modules set up on that database, but we also offer customized training using your institution's data, right? So we can create similar dashboards in training, and again, using your particular data. So that's also an option with our training services. And really, to get started with that or anything that you've seen today, you just contact us to schedule a further review for your institution. So that review Even that quick call, we can help you reflect on the types of dashboards most sorely needed at your institution. Right? We can also assist you with designing and implementing your Tableau roadmap, and really getting started with Tableau, planning it out, implementing, and then designing your dashboards and helping to train your staff as well. Okay, and with that, I've demonstrated the Tableau workflow, several dashboards as well, and I'd like to thank you for your time today and hand it back over to Adam.
Steve, thank you very much. Yeah, thank you for sharing all that information. I thought that was a lot of really great info about Tableau, and I thought a lot of the examples were really fascinating. And so like Steve said, if you have any other questions, if you're curious about any of the examples you saw today, or you're interested in learning more about some of the training offerings or the other services that we offer with respect to Tableau, our contact information is there on the screen. So feel free to drop us an email anytime, and we'd be happy to speak with you. Thank you all so much for joining, and we'll hopefully be seeing you again soon. Thank you.